Hey guys, Glaze here. I hope all of you are having a wonderful day so far. Today I'll be talking about scrimming correctly and also why a majority of teams actually struggle to progress and learn from scrims, but also how to improve from them and also what they're doing in each game. I have a few points to go over in this video within this topic of scrimming, so let's start off with understanding your objective. So what I mean by this is having a specific planning schedule each week of what maps you'll be playing and how many a day. I believe it's best practice to play one map for 1 week, then move on to another map, meaning it really gets into that player's head of how to play it and also what they should be doing around their team as well. Understanding your objective can also include things like having a focus on improving a specific area of the map, or even having the objective to have improved communication, for example. Whatever it is, make sure it's clear before entering the scrim. I suggest you do this by using things such as Excel sheets to keep track of your training plan and also give members of your team access to this file as well so they understand what to expect in the coming games. My next point will be stop caring about winning or losing. Now I can put money on the fact many of you have gone into scrims and actually cared if you win or lose the scrim. If this is the case, then this is an issue. You want to go in towards a scrim looking for the objective of understanding what you're doing wrong, but also how to improve in going in towards the future. You need to make sure to get into the habit at an early stage of understanding what you should be doing in each game. As long as at the end of the game, guys, you feel you understand better of what you should have done in order to improve, then that is good. I know it's easy to get down after losing, however, that isn't what you are trying to achieve within scrims. And because of this, I feel it can really destroy teams' motivation and also personal motivation because they are losing scrims. However, it simply shouldn't. My next point is going to be things repetitively. So what I mean by this is when you're in a scrim, don't just start changing things up to the point where nothing is really being achieved and you're just trying to stop losing the game. If something isn't working at all, for example, like taking mid control on T-side Mirage, then don't just stop going mid. Keep throwing yourself out toward middle in that position and try understand of how you are playing it and why it isn't working. Over time and over the rounds in the game, you'll start to get a better understanding of how to improve it, and that way you actually solve the problem instead of avoiding it. I can also give you another example of having a player who is struggling in a position on your team. Don't just remove them from that position mid-game. You want them to keep playing it so they figure out what they're doing wrong and also how to improve. This brings me on to my next point, being always make sure everyone on your team, including yourself, understands the fundamentals of Team CS. This is super important. Before going into depth about anything else, you need to make sure actually everyone on your team understands how to play Team CS. And I'm not talking about doing things such as executes and all that. I'm talking about actually defaulting, spreading across the map, trying to find information and gain map control, while also being very aware of where your teammates are and where you should be positioned because of them, and also how to play off of them if needed. This is one thing I feel that is always missed out on within lower tier teams. Each player isn't able to think for themselves and say what they want to do around the map. You each need to have your own brain on your team, making personal decisions round to round. This will make the IGL's job on your team much easier, and it will allow for them to focus on just what the enemy side is doing and how to counter it and win the round. My final point being don't change things up just because they aren't working. Now this brings me back to the example I gave earlier with your teammates who cannot hold a site. Don't just remove them from that site that game. Keep getting them to play that same position in order to learn it. However, this does also apply to the entire team as well. Don't just change things up drastically because they don't work, as that simply doesn't solve your issue. All it does is ignore it. Keep running the same default in order to look for map control and get everyone on the team to understand what they should be doing in order to gain map control on specific maps. For example, if your IGL suddenly says, let's just go for a B rush or an A execute, then this doesn't solve your original problem in the first place. You're simply just avoiding it in an attempt to gain a round win in this scrim. And this brings me back to, again, the point about caring about winning. You're not going to solve the issue if you just scrap your original plan and think about winning and getting those rounds. Please use scrims for practice. Stop trying to win. Stop trying to avoid the problems that will never get solved because of it. Understand losing in scrims isn't bad. It's just how you learn from each game is the important part of it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It's been Glaze, and I'll speak to you very soon.